everybody. It's Judy, Sandy, and Sara, and we're here today to talk to you guys about expectations and disappointments. I think we all can relate to that one. Don't you guys?
Absolutely. Oh my God. Yeah. I think probably the most important thing I've learned, the law of attraction talks about being able to create your life just exactly the way you want it. And yet sometimes I found it didn't go according to plan. But I was promised it by law of attraction, right? So what I've learned is that life has a bigger plan for me than just me creating the ideal business and all these great clients and a great partner who loves me to bits and nice house, nice car. It's so much deeper than that. And those things are great. I think maybe the biggest fallacy for me is the Cinderella promise, that we see in all the movies, that somebody else, a partner, is going to fill me up and give me all the emotional support I need and love me so much. And what I've found is that most people have had some trauma, and we don't know, most of us, how to love ourselves really, really well to the degree that we really want. And so expecting my husband or my business partner to do everything the way I think my law of attraction collage says they should has led to some disappointment, but also that deeper understanding that it's up to me. It's up to me to do all those things. And then from this place of real deep self-love, or at least self-like to start, then I started to really feel comfortable with liking myself and then loving myself. And then the business starts to work better. And my husband and I get along, communicate more neutrally instead of clamming up or whatever we used to do. So expectations are kind of that old idea of somebody else fulfilling my needs, I guess. I don't know. What do you think, Sara, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's a common problem that we all have, isn't it? I think we all have these expectations for ourselves, for our lives. I know me personally, that's one thing I've always struggled with, is I kind of expect a lot of myself, and I have certain goals that I want to achieve. And if I don't achieve them and I don't reach kind of my own expectations that I've set, then I end up like beating myself up a little bit. And I have to, luckily I know what I'm doing, so I let myself kind of be in that state just for a little bit, and then obviously get out of it, because it is, at the end of the day, I think disappointment is just a perspective. It's just a frame of mind, and if you're focusing on the negative, you're going to see the negative in front of you. But there are a million things, there are a million different reasons for you to be optimistic as well, for you to have a positive outlook. And I think, throughout life, the things that disappoint you in the end end up building resilience anyway. And this resilience, I think, is a powerful thing that we need in life, because imagine going through life never being disappointed. You literally, how would you deal with something horrific that's happened to you then? Because life, puts people through a lot of really awful things, So I think this resilience is really, if we use it right, and if we change our perspective to an empowering one, we can use disappointment to fuel us and to learn from it. And I think we have to have this kind of perspective that with life, things aren't going to be how we want them to be a lot of the time. If any, we always make these goals, plans, we have an idea of how we want something to be. And a lot of the time life has its own plan. So having that spiritual foundation, that spiritual guidance is important for me, because I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. So even when I feel like something hasn't happened for me the way I expected it to, I have this belief that, you know what, there's a greater, bigger reason this didn't work out, and I have to have faith that, you know, that it's happened for the right reason, you know.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you know, when you think about it, we kind of set a lot of unrealistic expectations. You know, we think, we think, well, if I only had this, I could be happy. If I had a partner, you know, I would be fulfilled and happy. When in essence, you have to look inside yourself, because, you know, setting expectations is all part of being human. I mean, you can't tell me there's not one person out there that has ever set an unrealistic, not set an unrealistic expectation. And the problem is, you can only control yourself. You can't control what other people do. And so when you put a lot of, faith in, well, they're going to do this for me, and they're going to do that, and they're going to achieve this, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. And you can't do that. You can't control what your spouse does. You can try.
I've tried.
Sometimes really that just doesn't work. Yeah. I mean, we're human because we have minds, and we have a way of thinking. We all are unique and individual. So what makes me happy isn't going to make the two of you happy, or may make you happy. We don't know. But I can't, and when you put so much expectations into other people, there's nothing good could come out of that. Nothing good that could come out of that, because it's just it's your responsibility.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, that people put expectations on the people in their lives, don't they? I think that's a really powerful.
We're taught that, though. I mean, it's changing, but every damn movie is about girl meets boy, whatever, potential partner, and they struggle, and then they get together, and everything's great from there. It's a theme that sets us up. It's kind of fun to watch, but
especially when there were realistic expectations that you set of people as well. A lot of the time, though, I don't think, maybe we don't realise we've set these unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
We may be too focused on the fact that person didn't deliver, rather than, hang on a minute, did you even know that I set this expectation for you? That person's probably none the wiser, and yet we're like, I'm disappointed, I'm feeling this, they don't understand me, they don't get me. Yeah, and it's like that person.
Right. Yeah. Communication is so big.
Yeah.
And to be transparent as much as we can, and honest as much as we can. And what I found with the coaching community is that a lot of coaches like to be seen as the expert. And I find I'm more attracted to people that go, yeah, I've got a lot of good information, and I screw up every once in a while, or you hear their story of their growth and their, again, deep commitment to learning from it and intending to grow from it. That's attractive to me. That's somebody I would work with versus, someone who wants the illusion of being all figured out. And so.
Well, the biggest thing is all of us want good stuff. We want to be happy. We want to have a fulfilled life, but we want more of that and less of conflict and disagreements. But we can't control, like I said earlier, we can't control what other people do. So sometimes we set ourselves up for disappointment that way, when we just automatically assume, that this person's going to work as hard as me, or be as driven as me, or do the things like I do, when in essence, they're not ever going to do that. There's going to be times when I'm better at something than someone else, and they're going to be better at something than me. And that's not making me any worse or,
less
or less than them. It just makes us different.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can grasp the concept of accepting or embracing your differences, but not fixating on your differences, then you can let go of those feelings of expectations and say, I'm me, Judy's her, Sara's her. We all have different and unique gifts. And we can all manage to work that together, and I think that's a big thing that people just can't seem to let go of someone being better than them sometimes. And that's really difficult for us because, we want to be the best person, and sometimes we're not,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's true. I think also that we need to be a lot more kinder to ourselves when we are feeling disappointment, because we can go into that kind of negative self-loathing state where we're, really negative on ourselves and really hard on ourselves. But a lot of the time, I think it's to do with we don't know what we don't know. So we don't know what we're doing. We're not conscious of it. A lot of our patterns are subconscious.
That's so true.
So I think showing yourself more love and kindness and asking yourself, okay, like Sandy said, what can I control right now? We can't control the other person, so I can control the meaning I give something. I can control the expectation. I can control how disappointed I feel right now. I can control the perspective that I'm giving this situation. And, you can control really. We need to adopt this mindset that, life is about learning, and we kind of need to allow that space for things to not go how we want them to. And that is really hard to do, isn't it? But I think the more we do it, I think the more it will become kind of second nature to kind of adopt that mentality where it's some things are okay. If that didn't work out, it's okay,
and you learn from it. And the experiment versus failure wording for me is everything. Just try this out, try that out, see what happens, learn from it. And if it's fun and productive and I feel good about it, I grow that. I have a funny story. It's from going to visit a friend last weekend who's a big gardener, and she's got a farm stand out by the side of the road. And she was doing her thing to the garden, and I offered to weed. And I'm weeding, and all of a sudden I pull on this plant, and I realized, oh no, that wasn't a weed. It was one of her flowers that she sells. And I found myself going, oh no, should I tell her? And I found myself going back to this child place of maybe I'll just push it back down and not say anything. I actually had all these thoughts going through my mind. And then I went, come on, I'm 65 years old. I can just say I made a mistake. And she comes over and she goes, well, let me water it some more. We'll push it down. It'll be fine. And anyway, it's one of the white ones. Nobody likes the white ones. And I felt relief, but the idea that I'd made a mistake and that I'd failed and all of that was coming up. And, I had an expectation that I'd be able to help weed and not blow it. And it ended up not being a big deal just because I was honest. I think honesty has a big part to play in facing up to our side of the equation. If we do, like we have a relationship, a business relationship, and I trust you guys implicitly because we've been honest with each other. We each have our talents, and I don't know how to do certain things and you guys know how to do it. So we just talk about it and work it out. And I feel it's the same with my husband too, communicating well to uncover, as you said, Sara, the unconscious expectations.
Yeah.
And that's our growth edge, right?
Yeah. I think if you have a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset, that's definitely going to help you as well with your perspective. But I think the important thing you did there as well, Judy, was you were honest, and I think forgiving yourself, because you know, we set ourselves at this impeccable standard a lot of the time, this high standard, don't we? And we kind of create a rod for our own back, really, in the sense that we you know, we're not that realistic with ourselves and what we can achieve. Sometimes, you know, some people, we have over high achievers, and if I don't do X, Y, Z, and it's all amazing and perfect, and if I don't reach perfection, then, you know, I'm going to beat myself up. My mum and dad are not going to, you know, see me the same. My friends aren't. We kind of have all these deep negative beliefs. But I think being kinder to yourself, being honest, and setting realistic expectations, that's a good thing. You know, we have, like, for me, I have a lot of expectations for myself and for my life, but I also know that if I didn't reach them, I'm going to be kind to myself as well, you know, because that's important, just as important.
Yes, I agree.
Well, you know, when we make mistakes, our subconscious or our inner gremlin automatically goes, I can get you out of this. You need to do this. And that was your mind telling you, well, you know, I could just push it back down in there and that would be okay. But your values and your belief set told you differently.
Yeah.
You know, the thing you have to ask yourself whenever you're in a situation like that, and you maybe disappoint yourself, you know, and you don't want to disappoint the person you did something to, or, you know, well, analyze the situation. Well, what's going on? And, you know, it's always best to be honest and have integrity, but you're always going to have that inner conflict because we want to have good things, not bad things. So the good things are always going to say, well, you know, if you don't talk about it, it never happened. And it does happen. So, you know, you got to become more self-aware and talk yourself through that. Like you did. You kind of said, well, I could do this and I could do that. And there were good things in there and there were bad things in there, but you finally said, oh, well, I just got to do this. You know,
yeah, it took about 20 seconds, but still, it was a little scary there for 20 seconds.
Because you value honesty so much in communication. Those are your, you know, two values that you live your life by. So, of course, the inner gremlin creeped in, but at the end of the day, your values made, you know.
Yeah. And I respect people when they tell me they've made a mistake and they come forth. Those are the kind of people I want to work with or be with. So.
Yeah, of course. We don't, a lot of people, you know, it's common for us not to want to admit to making mistakes, really, because we don't want people to see us as kind of, you know, like we can make faults, we can make mistakes. Some people are I know a lot of people who are like refuse to apologize, you know, and it's just, they get in the well, I'm not wrong and I'm not wrong and I'm not wrong, and that actually is kind of like an insecurity where you don't feel comfortable with people seeing your vulnerability, your flaws. But we all have them. So,
good point.
You know, we need to just, as hard as it is, I'm not saying this is easy, but, you know, the more you own your flaws and the more you'll allow yourself to be vulnerable and say, look, I made a mistake, and your values come through. I think that's, you know, what we're all trying to do. At the end of the day, we're all learning, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're all growing.
And if we can face the parts that are unaware,
that's it.
A lot of times, friends or whoever, we can't think of a specific example, but I didn't know I was doing something that hurt them or affected them or whatever. And all of a sudden they just go away, and I'm like, whoa, what happened? You know, it would have been nice to have, I slowly figured it out that maybe I said or did something that was outside their box. But I do value when people will say, hey, you know, I really didn't, I can't think of an example, sorry. But
I always try to put myself in their shoes.
Yeah.
How would I feel if that happened to me? And, you know, sometimes you got to eat humble pie, as my mom used to say. You know, sometimes you got to go, you know, Judy, I'm sorry. I pulled that plant and I wasn't supposed to. You know, sometimes it's just best. It's always, none of us want to have it's fear of conflict is basically what it is. It's fear of conflict. We don't want someone to be mad at us. But the thing is, it's not the person's issue, it's your issue because you're not accepting yourself and saying, you know what, just fess up to it. I know I was wrong. It's no big deal. It's no big deal.
I mean, I could go buy her another plant. I mean, there are other things I could have done to make up for it. And I would have, certainly. So these are great suggestions.
Well, and the thing is, ask yourself, is this really going to be relevant in a year, 2 years?
Or 2 minutes?
15 minutes even, yeah. And the thing is, sometimes it's our own sabotage that we're taking in our heads, saying, oh, don't say nothing, don't do this, don't, they won't like you. When in essence, you shouldn't care whether or not they like you.
Yeah.
You like yourself first, or love yourself, as you said.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a love-hate relationship with ourselves. We know that,
But I think as well, our intentions generally, I think the majority of people are good people and their heart's in the right place. Their intentions are in the right place, even though the delivery may come across as wrong sometimes. But I think generally people are good people. And I think people's intentions are always coming from a good place. And that serves me in life to believe that with other people anyway. I hope that's the case. And that's what helps. So, yeah.
And let's face it, we're going to be disappointed at times. There's nothing that can stop that from happening. I mean, whether, a child does something that we thought, oh, our child would never do that. How many times has a parent said, oh, that wouldn't be my child?
Yeah. Guess what?
Only to have the child tell you, this happened to me.
Yeah.
My child got accused of something. I said, oh, no. Wasn't my child. And so about 10 years later, he goes, well, Mom, I have to tell you, I really did that. And I was like, what do I, and that kind of, you can't just assume the behavior or thoughts or actions of others. You can't, no matter who they are, you know.
I've always learned 100 times more from my mistake, or I'm going to call it my experiment now. We're growing like that, make a boo-boo. It's an experiment, but I'm up in that direction.
That's it. Keep
my
going.
intention is.
Isn't boo-boo so much friendlier than mistake or challenge?
I like that.
And sometimes it's just all in our perception. Everybody else is going, why are you so upset? There's nothing wrong with what you did. It's just, so in other words, everything starts inside.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. And it's a perspective. Everybody's got a different one. And I just have to stay true to mine as being as kind to myself and knowing that, like you said, Sara, we're good people. We want to do the best. Everybody's learning, especially Zoom. Everybody's learning, how to use Zoom. I'm still learning. I made some mistakes in my last talk last Tuesday. And I went, geez, man, I thought I knew this. And, everybody's out there trying to watch my presentation. And I've learned from it. Next Tuesday, it's going to be way better. And the first thing I'm going to do is just say, apologize. And I've learned to be kinder to myself. And that's a huge lesson to say to anyone. And then go from there. So.
And you got to let go of perfection. There's no such thing. It's a unicorn. You'll never find it.
It's true, isn't it?
You'll never find it. Quit chasing it. It's not there.
Yeah.
Well, maybe in fairy tales.
Yeah.
That's something I'm working on a lot now because I'm doing a lot of online training courses. And I'll start recording and and then I'm like, oh no. And by the time I've got about 7 different versions of something I've said a little bit different. And I'm just like, Sara, just stop now. It gets laughable the amount of times I try. So that's something that, at this point in my life I'm working on because I'm putting myself in the limelight where I'm in the state of, trying to perfect everything. But yeah, I agree. I love these chats.
I know, because they're free flowing and, we can pause or, not do something exactly the way we want. And you're live, so you just got to go with it. Just let it go.
Yep, exactly.
So thank you both. This was great.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to turn it off.
Okay.